This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, coming at you with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. I'm not usually that interested in Japanese wrestling, but the biggest star in Japanese wrestling right now, even though it's not exactly in a boom period, is Okada, who has confirmed he only is going to wrestle about 3 more times for New Japan. Then it appears he's going to go to either WWE or WCW. WWE, we'll see what happens about if they would let him still do matches here and there for New Japan. AEW, we know, has a great working relationship with New Japan and probably would still let him wrestle for New Japan. Apparently, they've made him the better offer so far, but nothing has been signed. The Royal Rumble is just around the corner, other than, of course, the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches. The main event is going to be a four-way with Roman Reigns versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, which we all know Roman Reigns is going to win. Apparently, Roman Reigns so far is only booked for Royal Rumble and WrestleMania next year, although he does usually wrestle on the Saudi Arabia shows because they pay massive money. He usually wrestles on SummerSlam, so I'm sure he'll be added to more. But he's definitely going to keep that limited schedule this year. Seth Rollins, of course, as I reported earlier, partially torn meniscus and torn MCL. He was supposed to wrestle Punk at WrestleMania. I've had a torn meniscus before. I tore it off of a single leg in amateur wrestling. It The recovery isn't that bad. He could still, if he goes for surgery right away, which I'm sure he would, he could still be ready. As far as the torn MCL, I don't know, but sorry to hear that. Jinder Mahal had that big match. There was so much controversy about him getting a title shot after not winning since July 2022 or something. And then he loses. So it's like, where do you go from here with Jinder? He got beat up by The Rock. It got publicly said that he hasn't won in a year and a half. Then he loses to Seth Rollins, I guess. I mean, he looks good and he's a good hand. Keep him around. But he's another Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, who's in TNA right now, being used as if he was a top star in WWE. Alpha and Noah, WWE Hall of Famer, 81, the uncle of Roman Reigns and the Usos, had two mild heart attacks and pneumonia, very serious health issues, but he's recovering at home now. Very good. Hulk Hogan, 70, along with a friend and his wife, Sky, his new wife, Sky, witnessed a car accident and unbuckled the woman that was in the car accident, and the friend popped her airbag. She was not injured, but they were on the scene saving her. Good for you, Hulk Hogan. Trinity Fatu, who will be finishing up this weekend, tonight and tomorrow, with TNA, will return to the WWE. She could be back as soon as the Royal Rumble. Of course, she's married, I think, to Jimmy Uso. She had walked out with Sasha Banks, who was watching her wrestle for TNA lately, but I don't think Impact can afford Sasha Banks' price tag. I don't know if she's asking for too much or what. Um, would she be a ratings maker or an attendance difference maker? No, she's a name, which especially in AEW you need more names, but maybe she's just pricing her at too ridiculous a price. I don't know. The Backlash pay-per-view May the 4th in Lyon, France is advertising Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Rhea Ripley, Randy Orton, Bianca Belair, Mysterio, and Lynch. Don't know which Mysterio. Let's just assume both. But no CM Punk or Roman Reigns being advertised, as previously mentioned about Reigns. SmackDown last Friday in Lincoln, Nebraska, had 6,400 paid. Raw in North Little Rock, Arkansas, had 5,400 paid. Those seem like low numbers compared to what they were averaging in last year. In AEW news, Revolution coming up at the Greensboro Coliseum in March for Sting's retirement match. Has very good pre-sales. The only wrestling event that sold more at that arena was the 1999 King of the Ring. AEW could sell more if they would make the stage smaller and create more tickets, which they could do. I like it better in UFC where it's just a small entrance. I know the wrestling companies like to block off the arenas because overall they sell less tickets than MMA. Of course, MMA runs a lot less events, or UFC anyways. There's no other MMA company that really draws in the US or Canada. But I think it's cool when it's just like they used at Survivor Series, just like a little hole where the wrestlers come out of a tunnel, if you will. Apparently, Elijah Burke was backstage recently for AEW. AEW Collision coming up right here in Ottawa, Ontario, has 1,800 tickets out. That's pretty good for Collision. The show is not till March. Are they going to use me to get beat up by someone? I don't think so. I got too much heat. But I never wrestled in that arena in Ottawa. Kevin Von Erich was in Israel this past week to promote the Iron Claw. Ross and Marshall were supposed to join him there, but apparently they didn't have their passports. Dark Side of the Ring is returning this year with episodes on Brutus Beefcake. Come on, Brutus. He's doing well for himself. Harley Race, Buff Bagwell, Kurt Angle, Chris Adams, The Sandman, and Black Saturday when Vince McMahon purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling. I really like The Sandman, and I'm glad he's getting an episode. Apparently, Pac, the wrestler, was also backstage, not X-Pac, but I think he's Scottish or something. He was backstage again for AEW. He's been out with an injury. Meltzer points out that TNA, they brought in AJ Francis, who used to be known as Top Dollar. They're doing a weird gimmick with him in TNA, making fun of his botch dive, which seems like a weird way to introduce a guy to a company based on a screw up from another company. That's pretty much all he's known for. Apparently, he had mega backstage heat in WWE, and this new woman, um, God, what I didn't even write. I don't even remember her name in WWE, but her name is going to be Ash in AEW. Apparently, she was a low card woman in AEW. Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke. I should maybe put on my glasses, shouldn't I? That might help, but I need to I need to clean them. Um. So yeah, they're pushing her right into the title picture too. So Meltzer points out that he feels one of TNA's downfalls is instead of creating their own stars, they bring in like lower card WWE wrestlers and put them in main event positions. I mean, I don't know. God bless them. Best of luck to them. The more places to work out there for wrestlers, the better. Nick Nemeth seems like a nice guy from what I've seen of him. I hope this helps put him back on the map. Apparently, TNA also announced a collaboration with AAA, which Meltzer points out they've already been working together for years and recently did Impact tapings in Mexico. So to announce a collaboration after they've already been working together, it's a little strange. The estimated television pay-per-view for their Hard to Kill pay-per-view, which was their most talked about pay-per-view, while the estimated pay-per-view buys is 3,400. MMA news, UFC 297 in Toronto this weekend. 17,948 tickets out, 1,200 shy of a sellout. I think they'll probably get that sellout. UFC, I don't quote me on this, but I don't think they've been to Toronto since the pandemic. I'm pretty positive they haven't. And we don't really have many lower MMA leagues here in Canada. There's like they have amateur leagues where people fight for free with no headgear on in most cases, which I you really have to love it and be motivated to want to do that because there's no pay. There's no real in between. When MMA was more popular, there used to be a lot more like semi-pro MMA leagues that would pay you 600 or 800 to fight. Now those don't really exist that much. I'm sure there's some, but not many. For instance, there used to be 2 or 3 in this area, but there's none now that pay in this area to my knowledge. The UFC show in Saudi Arabia that was scheduled for March has been moved because Saudi Arabia is paying 20 million for it, and they didn't have any names on the card, which they didn't think was good enough. The PFL versus Bellator showcase in Saudi Arabia, February 24th, is going ahead, though. That should be interesting. Well, I wish everyone a great weekend. And by the way, thanks again to Tommy Morrison's ex-wife, Trisha, for giving me this wonderful necklace that I wear for good luck that contains his ashes in these boxing gloves. So definitely prized possession. And by the way, there's a lot of great North Wrestling stuff that Jack Kilby is cooking up um, for this year. So I won't jump the gun on announcing it too much, but there's some great North Wrestling stuff coming up. Wish everyone a great weekend. Check out my interview from a couple days ago with Rob Van Dam, one of the all-time greats, well-deserved WWE Hall of Famer. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our